Hello, everyone. Welcome back to You Can Slay That Again. This is episode 32 with Morgan Nelson. Now, this is my second male guest on my podcast, and I just really want to introduce this incredible human. He has been financially free at the age of 23, is top 10 in Australia's most, and I think it's, top 10 in the most incredible personal development podcast in Australia. And you're the Australia's fastest growing personal development company. Legend. I've actually got to say something really personal. The fact that you've been financially free at 23, I've actually set a goal for myself to hit $1 million in 10 months. So welcome to the show. I think this is a great way to start.
I love that. And I'm going to challenge that. Okay. So you want to make $1 million in 10 months. What would that mean for you when you make $1 million in 10 months?
What it means to me is buying my mum a house that she never got. It means that I get to financially support my future family and impact more people who have come from a poor background, that they can achieve whatever they want in life.
I love it. Of course, why I wanted to say, right? Because you said you open it by saying something about financial freedom and then followed up by a financial goal. And one thing I want to give these people, and then we can get into the episode. One thing I want to give people, because people see this, right? They see financial freedom and then financial success, but so often they don't know the actual difference between the two. And in school, they teach us that financial success is something that we should strive for. And then in Australia, they say, but don't strive too much because, people might say something bad about you, right? So they say, if you can get into university and you become a doctor, an engineer, an accountant, or something like that, and you can actually make over about $140,000, $150,000 a year, then you're financially successful, right? So you're in the top 5% if you're making over 150K a year. If you're making over about 400K a year, in the top 1% here in Australia. And anybody would look at that and say, wow, they're successful.
Yeah.
But show me the other areas of your life. Show me how many hours you spend away from your family. Show me how big the mortgage is. Show me how much debt you're in, bad debt you're in. Show me, your health. Show me how many hours you spend at the office doing the things you don't really want to do, the things that don't really inspire you, in order to collect that paycheck that everybody celebrates you for. So that's financial success. It's when you're trading time for money still, and there's money coming in, and you're making a lot, right? But financial freedom, that's what I want to get really clear on. So often people look at it and they're like, I want financial freedom. And in fact, it's one of the biggest things. People come to my events. I say, what do you want? I want financial freedom. What does that mean? Like, I don't know. I just want to make a lot of money. I want to make $1 million. A lot of people say, $1 million. Why $1 million? I don't know. Because it's like the entrepreneur invisible worthy number. And unless I make $1 million, then I'm not good enough. That's the thing, right? And we can talk about this all day, but financial freedom is when you have enough money coming in every week or every month, residually or passively, so reoccurring cash flow, predictable cash flow, that is more than enough you need to actually live your life on. So that's good. That number's gonna be so different from everybody else. So let me ask you a question. Would you rather make $80,000 a year and work 5 hours a week, or $300,000 a year making and working 80 or 90 or 100 hours a week?
Yeah. It's so interesting when you say it like that.
Everyone's different. So when I was 23 years old, right? So we'll back up a little bit. When I was, 19, 20, we can take this podcast wherever you want, but when I was 19, 20, things were rocking really not my way at all. But then I was 21, I started my own business, but I was an apprentice carpenter. Okay. So what I actually needed to be financially free wasn't that much money at all. So when I was 23 years old, I got my business to financial freedom where I was making, I don't know, maybe like $1,000 a week or something like this. Okay. But here's the thing. It was residual. It was every single week. Didn't matter if I woke up, if I went to work, if I didn't go to work, if I was living in Mexico, Bali, Jamaica, doesn't matter. So what I did, I moved to Mexico and I was just chilling. That was what I wanted. That was my dream life. I'm like, I'm making enough money to live in Mexico, surf every day, hang out, sleep in. That's the life I want, And then as my goals got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, the income had to grow, right? So I'm still at a point right now where, I'm financially free. If I want to leave everything tomorrow and go and move to Thailand or Mexico or something like that, I would be fine for the rest of my life. But Now my goals are so much bigger. My cost of living now is actually just a lot more. So the interesting thing about that is so financial freedom, for the people who have the goal of financial freedom, the first thing they need to do is actually work out how much money per week or per month do I need to live my dream life, get a number, and then reverse engineer. Great. How can I make cash flow or residual income or passive income to bring in that money every single week or month so I can have that freedom life? Because if we're just making $1 million a year, but we work 120 hours a week
Yeah. It's
doing
not
the things
freedom.
we don't really want to do, it's not that exciting, right? So that was just my
I
little
love
two
that.
cents as we opened.
No, you know what's funny? Because I wrote here, how do I, create this podcast to be really interesting? And I just wanted to cause disruption. That was the theme for today. And I think how you've
Pick the
started
right
was just a
guest.
really, yes, really good way of going into it. But I think when it comes to financial freedom, you're right. Everyone says it, but they don't know what it means to them. And I think one of the things I really wanted to kind of lead into this next, really, beautiful question coming to the end of 2022, now that, you have had financial freedom at the age of 23, what are you going to be doing now for next year to really stretch yourself to hit those goals that you really want to achieve?
Yeah, so cool. So now the goal for me is focus on impact. So we've got a goal to impact 1 million people over the next 5 years for our events. And that's a tremendous fucking goal. But all I know is this is because I'm driven off money to a certain point. And like this year is it been actually been our biggest year ever. And it's been really cool. And what I said to my partner, I go, I'm not most proud of having my biggest year. I'm not most proud that I ran my biggest event. I'm not most proud that I got Dr. John Demartini, one of the most highest sought after personal speakers in the world, to speak at our last event. I'm not most proud about all that. What I'm most proud about is the massive impact we got to have this year, and the fact I took 3 months off in the middle of the year and traveled Europe while having the biggest year of our life. Because I see so many people, they're like, hustle, 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 hustle. I'm like, bro, fuck that, man. I don't want to just do all that shit. And then one day when I'm 40 or 50, go, now I'm going to enjoy my life. I'm planning out next year as I look at our event calendar. We've got like 20 something events on next year, but there's still 2.5 months clearly off, all of June, all of July, half of August. And we're going to go to Bali, Queenstown, and Europe again. And then at the end of the year again. Right. So it's like I still want to create this life for myself where we're creating massive success, impacting a lot of people while having a shitload of fun. I'm not about building it to get to the point now I can relax. It's like, no, I'm gonna blend it all into my life. So the first few months of the year are just back to back, like heaps of events. But then I have about 6 weeks off. I'm like, I'm gonna go to Bali. I'll just chill out for 6 weeks and then come back and do it again. And that's the sort of life I want. So next year, the goal is to really, it's three things. Increase the freedom and fun that I currently have, increase the income that we're actually making. So we're going for multiple seven figures next year, and increase the amount of lives that we've impacted. And we've already got set in for our biggest ever 3-day event that you're coming to.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, in February. And that's going to be huge. It's our biggest one. We've got, I think, we've probably got more people coming to that than I have had come all year this year. So for me, I just know it's gonna be a massive freaking year already. So that's the goals for next year.
I fucking love that, legend. And can I just acknowledge how incredibly inspiring that is? Just one for myself, because, us being friends, but also me looking at yourself as an inspiration on leveraging like who I want to start, being surrounded by. And yes, I am going to your 3-day event. I'm fucking excited. I look over to that side of my wall and that's my yearly plan too. So I feel like we're very similar. And the biggest thing that I just got from there was, you're right, a lot of people have this mentality that when they want to have a certain amount of money or make impact or have financial freedom or wealth or make multi 7-figure income, there is this mentality of like hustle, hustle, hustle to the point that they kill themselves. Where I feel, and this is where it's leading into my next question, is like, where do you feel has been, yes, the same mentality of still having the life that you want, where there's time and space in your calendar to take time off to go to Bali. But what do you think, in order for you to hit those goals for next year, you need to sacrifice for your life, or make some changes or shift, or it's like, okay, if I want to get to here, these are the things I need to sacrifice? Or can you
100%.
do all of that without sacrifices?
Yeah, look, I believe yes and no. I'll tell you two different things. So what I believe for a long time, and I still do 100% believe, I I think it comes down to who you are, where you're at in your journey. Let's say you're working a 9 to 5 and you want to get out of that 9 to 5 and you want to build your own business, but you have the mentality of what I have right now. Oh no, well, I can build a business and have all this freedom. No, you can't create a new level of freedom in your life without sacrificing your current level of freedom. So if you've got a 9 to 5, you've got to literally use 5 till 9 to build that side hustle, build that business. Because I did that for years. When I was 21, 22, 23, I was a carpenter. Okay. I was working on the job site. I was awake at 4 o'clock every single morning. I drove an hour to an hour and a half to get to work every single day. I'd work 11 hours on the job site, hour to an hour and a half back, go to the gym. I was home by about 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. I'd make dinner. Then I was on my computer till fucking midnight.
Yeah.
Every single day. Every day. And then I slept 4 hours. And some people, oh my God, it's so bad for your health. Yeah, well, you know what? I sacrificed a little bit of that for about a year. And then I had all the freedom in the world I wanted. Right. So I truly believe that, if you've got a big goal, like you do have to put in the hours, like you've got to fucking make it work. But here's the thing. Like I said, we were talking before this podcast started. You're like, you posted the other day that you're done working for the year. And I just told you how I've got a big day today, big day yesterday. Because here's the thing. I love what I do. I love what I do. And it's so exciting. If I really didn't like it, I would be like, I don't actually have to work right now. Like I'm kind of really done until next year. But I like to. So I'm like, I'm gonna use this time right now to fill it with things that I don't usually have time for, like podcast interviews with you, like podcast interviews with other people, having other guests on my podcast. Like I just don't have much time for that. So I'm literally loading up the next few weeks with all this stuff that I never really had much time for because I'm maximizing time. I'm never gonna just waste it away. Okay. But I know that I've got the freedom to go. Like 2 days ago, actually, I was just like, man, I'm just not feeling it. I'm absolutely wrecked. I just ran a 1 day event on the weekend. And I was like, I'm just chilling today. And I didn't do anything. Sat up in the sun. I went to the soak bath. And I was like, I'm just going to enjoy this. And it's cool because I can do that. But there was a moment in my life for quite a while where I couldn't do that because my business heavily relied on me to work it daily. So if I look into my business now, it's a different frame of mind because I learned that if you push the pendulum so freaking hard one way, so if it's just work, hustle, it doesn't last that long. For me, it lasted about 4 years, 4 or 5 years. And then one day I was just so freaking exhausted. And I don't believe in the word burnout. But if it did exist, it punched me in the face, right? And then I started to realize I need to do more fun things because, what I value highly, okay, what I value highly is love, success, and fun. Yeah. But what I was doing was I was sacrificing fun for more success. So, and our values is literally like what our soul is calling. When we're in alignment with our values, what we truly value, we won't burn out. So when I'm loving what I do, I get to love having impact with people. I'm creating massive success and I'm having a shitload of fun. I can do that all day, every day. I never want to stop that. So that's why I love having podcast interviews. I love building my business. I love talking with my team. I love getting all this stuff done. So it doesn't actually feel like work. Okay. But back to your question is, can you sort of have the freedom without? Yeah. This is like a business question because I was looking at my business, right? And the other day I try to put more stress into our team. And I'm like, we need to build a sales department now. Let's start doing inbound and outbound and blah, 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 blah. And it's hurting my head because I'm like, fuck this. I don't want to even think about it. And then I just asked myself the other day, I'm like, why do I need to do it? Because I have how we get leads and how we get sales and stuff into our business. It comes in periods. So we're not selling every single day. We'll always make new sales at every event that we run, which means I only really need to be on and selling every few months. So in between those sales periods, I can kind of chill because that's the life I've set up for me. Like all I want to do is I want to travel around the world, speak at my events, make an impact and help people. So yeah, I'm working at the minute, putting in systems and procedures in the teams and stuff like this so I can gear up and really put myself in a position to just do what I'm really good at, what I love doing next year. So I think sometimes, as business owners, we try to overcomplicate things.
Yep.
Yeah. So I just looked at that the other day and then I pulled the pin. I'm like, fuck the sales team. Like, yeah, it would make more money. But that's at the sacrifice of my freedom and my fun. And that's just not what I want to. I just think that we can have a really successful year next year while having a lot of fun and a lot of freedom as well. That's what I believe.
I just fucking love you said the F word. Like fun is like the biggest thing for me in my business too. And I feel we've gone through some similar things when it comes to like the end of the year. I go through like a cleanup phase. It's like, okay, what do I need to do for the business? Onboarding more sales team and all this kind of stuff. And then very much like what happened with myself having this conversation with my personal assistant. We've created or we were looking at creating new systems in order to make more money, bring more of a team in and a sales process and all that kind of stuff. Yet there was almost like a shift in energy where I almost created this like, oh my God, I need to do more because I need to do this. And I realized that I had to kind of like reevaluate like what's important to me. And I don't know if it's just something where it comes to the end of the year where a lot of businesses and, successful people like yourself go, all these things need to change in order for me to have this end result. So I feel like, I don't know, where I'm kind of going with this is doing what's right for you, not what is, well, not, let me rephrase that. It's doing what's right for you that feels aligned to you. And I find that a lot of people in business, they start to really put pressure on themselves when it comes to like creating this sort of energy of stress and creating new systems. Like if it's not aligned to your values, then why do it? Which brings me to my next set of questions when it comes to values as well, because obviously they stem from our beliefs and, our upbringing or our programmings and whatnot. What's the advice you've taken from your parents that you really have stuck with? And then what's something that you haven't stuck with that your parents have given advice to you on?
That's a hard one. It's a hard one to think about. I grew up in a family where, dad worked, made $80,000 a year. Mum was stay-at-home mum. She did everything for us. 4 siblings, so 3 siblings, 4 including me. We grew up in a household where we had everything we needed, nothing really we wanted. You know what I mean? So it wasn't bad, but definitely wasn't fantastic. And I actually have done a lot of work to repair the programming I learned of all around money and success. And because for so long, success was a burden. Money was a burden. It was, I think back to, I think back to Christmas, okay, growing up, I still get awkward. And I only realized this a couple of years ago, actually. So up until COVID, I would just flee the country every single year for Christmas. I'm like, I'd go to a new country, I'd have fun. And so I was like, yeah, awesome time of year. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago I started to realize, like, when I couldn't leave, I was like, what do I do this year? I was like, I don't want to fucking do this. And I started to notice the awkwardness. And I was like, why do I feel awkward around Christmas? And I'd done all this honest work about it. And what I realized was, I used to grow up and every single year, mum would say, oh my God, I hate Christmas. It's always so expensive. It's so expensive. It costs too much money, costs too much money. And then next minute I get a bike for Christmas. And I felt guilty about receiving a gift because I knew it come at the burden. I was the burden and it come at the expense of mum's happiness.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck. So I do so much freaking work, to be honest, like around like feeling worthy of receiving and all this sort of stuff because it all stemmed from that. So the question was, what was something positive I learned? I'm sure there is definitely something. I couldn't tell you right now because what I really got from, my parents' stuff growing up was seeing that they both settled for normal. They both settled, like they sold their dreams for a paycheck. Like for real, like they sold their aspirations, they sold their inspirations, they sold their dreams, they sold their joy for a paycheck, stability, and safety. Right. But they had us kids super, super young. So like I'm not, but that's what I saw growing up. So I made a decision at some point growing up, I don't know when, that I would never be like this.
Yeah.
And I kind of went in 100% different direction. Like the rest of my family is super, they're all the exact same, super chill. They all have a job, good security, la la la. La. And I've always gone the risk taker. I've always just gone this way because I'm like, I would rather, I like, it sounds cliche as fuck, but I would literally rather die trying to create an extraordinary life for myself than to settle for mediocrity. Like I would rather die at 40 living a fucking insane life than live to 85 mediocre as fuck, settling beyond just below what normal is. You know what I mean? So the
Yeah.
biggest thing I kind of got from that is life is what you make it, right? And life has absolutely nothing to do with the circumstances that happens to you. But if you believe that things are happening to you and you make it mean something about you, have how poor you, the victim, all these sorts of things, instead of looking and going, well, what might this be teaching me? How might this have been happening for me? How is this shaping me into the person I need to become? Right? If we look at it like that, we're actually going to get positive learnings from every single thing that happened in life. Because every single person listening to this right now, and yourself included, right? You can think back to something really shit happened in your life, correct? Like really bad
Yeah.
breakup or losing someone you cared for, like the worst shit. And when it was happening, what was going through your mind was probably like, this is fucking horrible. Why me? Right. But now you look back on it and you go, I'm so glad it happened because it taught you something, didn't it? You learned something and you wouldn't actually go back and change it. Every single person I've talked to, I'm like, would you go back and actually change that thing ever happened to you? That thing that happened to you when you were 16 or losing that person when you were 20 or your first breakup? Would you go back right now and change it? And they're like, no, 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 no. Why? Because it made me who I am. Oh, awesome. Then let go of the fucking bullshit story of all the drama that you've held on to it about how to victimize you, right? Let go of all that and look at it, be like, what has this taught me? How has this shaped me to be the person I am? That's what I've always looked back. And when I look at my siblings all look back at their upbringing. I tell you, if you got me and my brother next to each other and you say, how was your upbringing? I'm gonna tell you, it was awesome. Mom and dad did great. He's gonna tell you, oh my God, it was so bad. They never cared about us. So two exact people. Two people, exact same situation, two different outcomes, right? It's the same story of there's these two brothers, okay, and one grew up to be an raging alcoholic, and one grew up to never have a drop of alcohol in his life. And when they interviewed both the brothers, they said to one brother, the alcoholic, they said, "Hey, how come you're an alcoholic?" He said, "Well, what do you expect from me? My dad was an alcoholic, so I just copied." And they go to the other brother, and they said, "How come you've never had a drop of alcohol?" He said, "Well, because my dad was an alcoholic. I didn't want to turn out like him." Exact same event, exact same upbringing, completely different life. Why? Because nothing in this world has meaning except for the meaning that we give it. And at every single moment when things are happening in our life, we subconsciously ask ourselves three questions. We ask ourselves, what are we making this mean? So, what am I going to make this mean? Right? What am I focusing on? And what am I going to do about it? So, in every single major event in our life, especially ones with heightened states of emotion, where we get angry, sad, depressed, guilty, shame, anything like this, shock things, we create massive decision altering, life altering decisions in the moment, right? And it literally shapes us for the rest of our life. These are the things that we find most important to us. This also helps shape our values. You mentioned values, right? This is what changes people's values in life, what they place as super important, right? Well, I lost a friend who was quite close to me. He got killed. And I remember when he died, I went to his funeral. I was there looking at him, going, here's a guy who chased his dreams so wholeheartedly, and he died at young 20s.
Yeah.
I was like, what I meant it mean was life's fucking short. So don't waste time pleasing other people. Don't waste time living someone else's dreams. Don't waste time living someone else's idea of how you should be. Go out there and make it what you want, because at the end of the day, everyone's going to be in a box at the end. Right. So like that's the biggest things. I don't know how we got down this path, but we started talking about family and stuff. But like the biggest things I've learned have been my own self-actualizations of actually going back to it and going, what did this teach me at the time? And what can I now, with a new level of consciousness and a new level of understanding and a more mature sort of way to look at life, what can I really make it mean instead?
Yeah.
We've all got the power of doing this and actually going back to events. And one thing one of my mentors taught me is events are always happening in our life and we can never do anything about it. You can't control the events that happen to you. No one can. You can walk outside and get hit by a car. You can't really control that, right? However, it's your responsibility because you fucking walked outside. Okay. Like, not to blame, but it's your responsibility. You've now got the ability to respond because it's in your life. But here's the thing: when events happen, people add stories to what happened. And when we add stories to what happened, we then create problems in our life. Let's say, for example, perfect one, because I know you have a lot of female listeners on this podcast.
Yes.
Female dates a boy. Boy does something wrong to them. Oh my God. All boys, here, right? All boys are the same. All boys like this. And then what happens is unconsciously they create this because they dated a fuckboy and he cheated on you with your best friend. Okay, get over it, right? You should be more pissed off at your best friend than the guy anyway. And I see it happen all the time. And the girls, they still stay friends. Oh, it's okay, sister. They still stay friends. But here's the thing: they make up this program, they make up this story, they make up this meaning that all boys are X. And then what happens is they'll continually attract this into their life because that's what they believe is true. Their reticular activating system in their brain won't actually become aware of the boys who are not fuckheads. They'll see a guy who's a fucking gentleman and be like, oh, he's a pussy, he's probably gay, or they won't even just be aware of it. Because their brain won't ask for it. Their brain won't actually bring back the information and go, hey, this is a good guy. Here's a guy that's not a fuckwit. Because they're not registering that because they anchored in, they told themselves that all boys are this. So our brain will then work. Our part of our brain called the reticular activating system goes and finds information to bring us back feedback to provide the evidence that it's real. So if we say all boys are whatever, right? Let's just say all guys are cheaters, right? Let's say all guys are cheaters.
Yeah.
And that's what they say. So our brain goes, okay, I got you. I'm going to go and find all the evidence out here to show you that you're right. Because our ego brain wants to be right. Our ego brain wants to be right. It's going to show all the evidence. I'm going to show you all these other guys. Here's all these guys that cheat. And then it reinforces the current belief. See, I told you all guys are the same. Blah, blah, blah. I just keep attracting. And it's all this sort of same shit. But the moment we actually switch it and we go back to the event and we add no story, we'll actually have no problem. So instead, the guy cheats on you, leaves you, whatever, and you go, oh, well, what can I learn from this? Maybe just read some red flags better. Maybe set better boundaries. That was just one guy. That was one guy out of the 3.5 billion in the world. That was just one. And he probably had his own reasons. And maybe I even played a part in it too, because you do, right?
Responsibility.
Yes. And then looking at it and go, great, well, what can I learn from this so it doesn't happen again? This is how we actually go through life, a lot healthier way of looking at our life without holding on to past shit. I see too many people these days talking about, I got to do more healing. No, what you need to do is just stop believing the shit you told yourself for so long. And maybe things will be a lot better.
You know, it's really beautiful that you've mentioned all that around, like, one, around the parents, what you've witnessed, what it shaped you to be the person you are now. Looking at, like, your life not wanting to be mediocre, you've actually wanted to create a life that you deserve and love, and obviously the dream life. And again, the victim mentality versus the growth mentality. You know, why is this happening to me versus, you know, what is this teaching me? And I think this is, again, a really beautiful message for everyone listening. Like, it all comes down to you, responsibility and whatnot. Like, yes, bad things happen, but looking at it from a different perspective or different lenses, it's always going to then enable you to grow, to learn, and to do something different. How I want to bring into the next question, Morgan, just because it's, again, going so authentically and beautifully, because, again, back to how my goal was to make $1 million in 10 months, it talks about going all in. And I know you're the type of person that does go all in, but what does that mean to you?
Yeah, there's four levels of action. There's 4 levels of action. Okay. So going all in is this, right? The first level of action is doing no action. Okay. So someone who does level 1 action, they don't set the goal to begin with. Right? They're like, what's your goal? I don't know. I'm not setting a goal. Why? Because then there's a chance I could fail and I'll let myself down. So it's just better just not even set a goal at all in life, which is the ultimate failure. Don't even get me started there. Level 1
down
action.
a rabbit hole.
Yeah. Level 2 action is blaming, complaining, and justifying. So level 2 is when people, you know, okay, I'm gonna make $1 million in 10 months. And then the 11th month comes and they've made $170,000. They say, well, what happened? I thought you said you make $1 million in 10 months. And they go, yeah, I know, but like COVID really affected my business, like on my team. Oh my God, my team, they just don't get me. I wish I just had a clone. Like, oh, my clients have been attracting, the worst. Well, I haven't been attracting the worst clients. I've just had the worst clients just come find me and they've been so annoying. And then this hasn't worked and this hasn't worked. And oh my God, it'd be so much easier for me, if I just had a big team like Grant Cardone, or if I just ran big events, or if I had a big brand, and blah, blah, fucking blah. And they blame and they complain and they justify. So the worst thing about justifying is that they actually believe their own story. That's the worst. And I did for so long, right? Because we've all done things before. It's like we set a goal and we don't hit it. So instead of taking 100% responsibility on it and going, fuck, I didn't show up, I didn't do it. Or instead of just not being so hard on yourself and just going, I set a big goal and I actually didn't want to hit it, but look how much I did. Hey, let's just, what worked, what didn't work, let's go again. What can we do in the next year, so I don't know where I was going with that, but they blame and complain and justifying. So I did for so long, okay? The justifying. So if they actually make an excuse and they buy into it, it allows them to get off without any real feedback. For example, if they're like, oh, I didn't hit the goal because, this, and this. And then our brain goes, it seems legit. Okay. Then we go, they don't feel bad about ourselves. And, some people out there who preach self-love, and we'll probably be like, it's so good. You just got to love yourself. Well, look, I think you'd love yourself a lot more if you hit your goal and you actually did the things you committed yourself to, and stop allowing yourself to justify your shitty actions, shitty behaviors, and shitty habits. Okay. And so what I'm getting at is get out of level 2 action as fast as you can. If you notice that you're blaming, you're complaining, and you're justifying, get out. Take 100% responsibility over everything. And this gets really tough when you're growing a company because you're starting to employ employees and stuff. And it's so easy to want to blame an employee, to be like, why don't you do your job? But here's the thing, and I'm learning this the hard way, is there's never problems in the team. There's only leadership problems. And it's funny because I run an advanced leadership program. And it's just funny because it's like here I am teaching all this stuff as well, and I embody it all, but I still have my days where I'm like, fuck. And then I take a second to think about it. I said, Morgan, this is your fault. I said, I know. And I go back and I solve it, okay, with a better frame of mind. But it's so easy to actually want to just react and go, this is someone else's fault. It's not me. Okay. So the moment we can take responsibility over all our goals and our results or lack thereof results, we'll set ourselves free. So the third level of action is some action. Third level of action is, I'm going to really do it. What this is I'm going to do what's convenient. So, I'm going to wake up. Oh, I wasn't really feeling it today. I'm going to hit the snooze button. I'm going to sleep for another hour. I said I'm going to do all this sales calls this week. I'm just not really feeling it. I'm not feeling an alignment. The moon didn't come strong this month for me, and blah, blah, blah.
I'm in my feminine energy.
Oh, I've got to be in my feminine, And, at Advanced Leadership, we teach people how to be absolutely totally embodied and light and dark, masculine and feminine. Because it's like, the one who can balance between all will win every single time. Right. But some action is still good because it's a lot better than the first two. Okay. But a lot of people get stuck here, right? Because a lot of freaking people get stuck here just doing some action where I'm working. But here's what you're doing. You're working just your standard 8 hours, man. You're competing with someone like me who still works to midnight every day. You're competing with someone else who's literally showing up on Sundays. I haven't had a Sunday off in weeks because I just keep cramming more stuff in. Like for so long, I used to look at Sundays and Saturdays and go, I can't work Saturdays, Sundays. And somebody asked me why. I said, because it's when I rest. Fuck rest. Seriously. Like if your goal is like, you can't set an astronomical goal, $1 million in 10 months and go, I'm just going to do it when I'm feeling convenient. Oh, I feel aligned today. I'm going to take action today. No. You got to show up on the days when you still don't like it. Because it's a big goal. Okay. The fourth level is just all out massive action. All out massive action. This is just doing so much more than what you think you could actually do. Right. Asking for that extra that extra proposal, asking for that extra thing. Like this week, actually, I've asked for two things that I got said a no to. Like, so I'll give you two examples. The first one was, I won't name names, but I'm pitching a massive guest to speak at Dreamfest. And I'm like, should I just DM him? He's millions of followers on Instagram. I'm like, should I just DM him? What should I do? Blah, blah, blah. And I found a different way. And I went around to the team, and his team pretty much was like, nah, he's not doing anything like that as yet. And I said, bullshit. So then I just asked for one extra step forward. I didn't ask for the whole deal. I just asked, can we have a conversation? And we said yes to a conversation. Now we have a meeting set up with the president of their company, and we're doing, and now we're looking at maybe even doing a deal together, but it's because I asked that extra little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. And then another one was, we're looking at a house this week, and I called up the lady, and the lady's like, oh no, he's actually going to sell it. He's not putting up for rent anymore, and blah blah blah. But if he doesn't get an offer in a week or so, he's going to put it back up. I said, well, tell you what, how about I come around there? I inspect it anyway, and that way, if he does put up for rent, it'll be really easy, and I'll slide in. And then she hits me back the next day. Come around today. I'll give you an inspection. I went around yesterday, and it looks like we're getting the place, right? So doing all that massive action is just doing what everybody else does, but then that 10% more, 10% more. Okay. But then the final thing is, imagine if Jordan, you guys aren't engaged, right?
We've been together 9 months. Chill.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
But you know what? I'll put it in here, Jordan. Hurry up.
Okay. So let's say Jordan comes home. He comes home one day and he says, baby, I'm 99% sure that you're the woman of my dreams. Let's get married. What are you going to say?
What's the 1%?
She's going to say, bro. And then if there's any other dudes listening on this podcast, they're all like, what the fuck else does she want, man? 99%. And we're all like, we're with you, Jordan. We get you. These women, they just want everything. And you women, you want this 1% more, the 1%. Because what does 99% tell you? That there's doubt. I've got a plan B. Just in case. I'm not all in, just in case. And the same thing happens with your dreams and your big goals. If you're 99% in, your goals and your dreams will smell and feel doubt. They'll smell and feel that you're not that serious, because if you were that serious on them, you'd be all the way in. Right? Everything I do, I'm all the way in. Because when you're all the way in, you make decisions a lot faster.
Yeah.
And you also make decisions that are necessary, not a convenient. If you're 99% in, you'll do what's convenient, not what's necessary. So I do lots of stuff where I'm like, fuck, I don't want to do that. Okay, just do it. Because I think this is what I committed to, the end goal. Okay. So, really achieving that is the ability to go 100% in. It's making that decision. And when we decide on a goal, the word side, inside of decide, means to kill, means death in Latin. So when we decide on our goals, when we decide on our dreams, so when you decide on $1 million in 10 months, what you're actually doing is killing all other options of $1 million in 10 months. There's nothing else. It's it. And when you know you've made the full decision, what happens is your gut feels like you're mixing water and oil. And it's like, oh, this is scary. And that's where you want to be.
Yeah.
When I was learning from Bob Proctor, he told me that point's called the terror barrier. He's like, so you hit this point called the terror barrier, where it literally, you come up against it and you're like, this is fucking scary. It's terrorizing. And it's scary because it feels like, but it's scary because you know that's actually possible if you do what you actually need to do. And why it's also a little scary is because you go, how the fuck do I get there from where I am now? And it's the best place to be. But if you hold that tension, continue taking action, you'll be surprised what you attract to you to bridge the gap looking forward. That's how the law of attraction actually works. You want to attract the $1 million, you'll attract the wicked clients that bridge the gap to that in record time. And then when you get there, you can turn around and connect the dots looking backwards and say, fuck, that's how you do it. Right? But you can't look forward and go, this is how I'm going to do it. You can try your best, of course, with business projections, and you can do your best, but it won't be accurate. Then you'll get there and you'll be like, fuck, that's the only way you can ever actually know the how. So what stops people from really going all in and taking massive action is 3 things: fear, doubt, and then focusing on the how. Right?
Mm-hmm.
This is why at the Dream Out Loud method, I help people absolutely freaking destroy fear and doubt, because it's the two biggest things. But the next one is how. People get too caught up in, well, how am I going to do it? Fuck the how. Because if the what and the why is powerful enough and you destroy your fear and your doubt, you'll discover the how. It's irrelevant.
It's why I told you the goal, because it's now officially on the episode. It's kind of like, well, fuck, I've got to then make sure I do this. Don't know how,
Out
but it's
there.
going to happen.
I
Yeah,
love it. Put it in the ether.
100%.
Yeah.
But I love
That is
that.
another thing. Like you've got to say it out loud, because that's the thing.
Yeah.
Because if you haven't fully decided on it yet, you wouldn't say it out loud. Right? When I was in Lithuania, my partner's from Lithuania, we're over there and we're speaking to and we're speaking to one of her friends, and they've got all these, like, because it's a very old country, it's hundreds, I think it's thousands of years old.
Where
They
is
got
it?
Eastern Europe, right next to
Okay.
like Poland and Russia, and it's really, really cool. And I was speaking to one of her friends, and I said to him, I said, what are your goals? What do you want to build? And blah, blah, blah. And he goes, I've got this business I want to build, but I can't tell you what it is. And I said, why not? And he goes, because if I say it, there's that curse that as soon as you say it, that it won't happen. I'm like, fucking what? He's like, there's that curse, that old tradition. I'm like, bro, that old tradition's keeping you broke, man. Because if you're afraid to say it, well, you're holding fear around what it says you want, right? So energetically, you're not going to want to go after something that you hold any sort of fear around, because we'll do anything to avoid pain, which is also fear. But the biggest thing is if we don't want to say it, we're saying that we're actually doubtful of it, or we think we'll look stupid if we say it, or it's not going to make sense, or blah, 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 all these things. So the biggest thing I say to people is actually declare your goal out loud to people. Declare it out loud, right? Because then when you say that, you'll be like, oh shit, now I gotta make it happen.
It's my second favorite D word, honestly. Like the biggest thing when it comes to, any goal, it's the minute you declare it, it's like, all right, I've got to make shit happen. Don't ask me what my number one.
What's your first one?
Dick. I actually couldn't think of anything else. But I fucking love that. Going all in is honestly like one of the biggest themes for my 2023 year, as I always set themes for each year. This theme for 2022 was leading with love. 2023 is going all in. So that's why, just how you shared your way of going all in. And by the way, if Jordan's 1% was to be anything, it would be because he has a little boy crush on you, just so you know.
I love Jordan. He's a good dude.
He's the best.
I can't wait to see you two in February.
And I'm excited. But I thought this would be a really good way to wrap this episode, because coming close to obviously the end of the year and we're starting 2023. What are you letting go of this year to go into 2023?
That's a good one. What am I letting go of? The first thing that just come to mind was high expectations, but I'm not letting go of that.
Why?
Because we need it. Well, no, I'll trust my unconscious mind. Letting go of expectations sounds good, actually, because we can only ever be frustrated in life when we have expectations on something. Right? So if you want to get rid of frustration, get rid of expectations, then we change the expectations for appreciation. So potentially I would start appreciating more of the things that we're actually doing instead of having high expectations, but get clear on high standards. I'll get very clear on my high standards, because standards and expectations are different. So I think I'll hold and embody the standard of quality of world class that we want to create and what we want to do, whilst helping people tap into their full potential in my team and people around me, whilst removing expectations I have of them. Because it's really true. Like the only way you can ever be frustrated or let down in life is because you've put expectations on somebody. And the shit thing about it is no one knows about them except you. And you may not even consciously know it. You just run this pattern. I see relationships do it all the time. Right. And half of one of the days at the Dream Lad method is all in relationships. So you guys got to have fun there. Right. And, it's, I see it happen all the time. Like a primary argument that people have or a problem they have in their relationship is like, well, James, he's just not doing this. James, how come I'm not doing that? Fuck, I didn't know I was meant to do that. Sally, did you tell James? No, I just expected that he would know. then how in the fuck do you think James would know then if you just expected the fucking poor guy to know? Well, he should just telepathically know. Right?
Read my mind.
Yeah. Well, how long have you wanted him to know for? For the last 16 years. James, did you know that? No. But that makes sense why we don't have sex much anymore. It makes a lot of sense now, doesn't it? Right. But I see it happen a lot. People put expectations on each other and then they make assumptions. It's like, well, I think you should do this. This is what I expect of you. Well, don't put expectations. The only thing you gotta get by putting expectations on anybody, even yourself, is let down frustrations. Right. But there's a difference between expectations and standards. You can hold high standards of what you require from yourself, but expectations will only lead to frustration.
That was beautiful. That's so good. And that's the thing I find, yeah, when there's no expectations, you really just have a completely different view when it comes to approaching life in every aspect, relationships, business, all of it. I love that. Morgan, I always end the podcast with this question. And that is, because I don't know if you know, my podcast is called You Can Slay That Again. But what does slay, so SLAY, mean to you?
What does slay mean to me? In the mature man that I am now, not the younger.
Do both.
in the boy world.
Mind say? Yeah.
Look, slay to me would really be accomplishing and achieving far beyond your dreams. All right. So setting and actually getting your dream life and continually achieving and surpassing the goals you set for yourself. Something that we've all hit goals in our life where we hit a goal and we're like, yay, hit the goal. But then we've hit goals in our life where you go to bed at night and you're like, I have no fucking words. I have no words. I'm so stoked. That is my definition of slaying. Like, so it's not just passing, it's not just getting, it's seeing it, it's getting it and fucking destroying it. And unarguably being a fucking legend at it.
That's mic drop shit right there, man. Morgan, how can everyone find you? What's coming up for you? We've obviously doubled with some events, but plug in what's to come.
Yeah, so
everyone to know.
Best way to find me is my podcast, Dream Out Loud. It's one of the top personal development podcasts in Australia. We've had some of the most incredible people. We've had like Kelvin Ray on there, Les Brown, Dr. John DeMartini, Mark Victor Hansen. We've had some really incredible people on there. So you can get it, and we're about to start pumping like 2 or 3 episodes a week out on there, coming into January. So there's gonna be fucking fire on there. Next place is my Instagram at Morgan T. Nelson. So if you love this episode, share it, tag us. My DMs are literally always open. I answer everyone's DMs. I don't have a team doing that yet, so I keep that personal. So at Morgan T. Nelson for Instagram. And yeah, if people like what we got coming up next year is a shitload of stuff. But if you're someone who really wants to reach that new level of success, break through their fears, break through their doubts, realign their values, their beliefs, and find their true north in life, like find the real direction that you need to be heading in life to get the results you want, not just financially, but for your soul or for your life, then come on to one of our events. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see all the stuff that we do there. Inside of my Facebook group, we have a Facebook group community. I run free events and stuff in there all the time. So what I'll always do is just give a heap of free shit before I ever ask you to spend $1, because I just believe that that's how it should be done. Right. So, and by doing that, we have so many people that come to our events that are just high vibers like you, like, you know, the 3-day events always filled with people that are fucking awesome and they want to be there, because I just have a strict no convincing policy. Like, I'm never going to sit there and convince someone to buy my shit. It's like, if you're fucking ready to step up and create extraordinary shit, you'll be at this event. We're looking for the people who are lions, the people who want to accelerate and really reach new levels of growth and success in life. That's who we sort of cater to. So yeah, come on one of our events. We've got so many happening next year, but follow me on Instagram. You'll see it all.
100%, guys. And just because I have been to one of his events, you guys need to go.
Dreamfest.
Yes.
Yeah, Dreamfest we're doing it again next year. It'll be in end of August. That will be the biggest personal development event of the fucking year.
If there's one thing for you guys to do right now is get on that and do it. Thank you so much again, Morgan, and I'll chat to you soon.
Yes. Love you so much. Appreciate you having me on.
Love you.